celebration. Oh my God. Okay, guys. Thank you so much. If you're seeing this, that means that I hit 10K subs, which is just completely amazing. I'm also right near 1 million views, so I'm probably gonna hit those about the same time. So I got both those at the same. It's a huge milestone for the channel, so thank you guys very much. I'm still not monetized on YouTube, and I don't expect to be until about June or so. That's when they said that they're expecting all monetization to be approved. They said April before. Now it's June. This sucks because I've been over it for months, but whatever. I'm actually really sick right now. I might not sound like it, but it's all sore throat in my head and blah, blah, blah. So I needed to do this video because this is like such a huge moment for the channel. It's only gonna happen once. I can't miss this moment, okay? That's my point here. I'm gonna chug along through this video as best as I can and edit it all tonight, and hopefully it'll be up in time for right when I hit 10K. On to the main attraction. I asked you guys to ask me some questions in the comments so that I could respond to them, and I'm gonna start right now. I think there's about 60 questions. All right, let's get started. Why am I like this? Starting on a good note, creative, thought-provoking, intelligent questions, just as I expected. So why are you like this? Well, I think everything has to do with, you know, a combination of nature and nurture. Everything that you become is partially what you grew up with and partially what your genetic disposition is. So I'd say probably that, or you're memeing. What is your favorite live performance of a Muse song? So for me, actually, one of the biggest determining factors of whether I enjoy the live performance is the quality of the audio. The video doesn't have to be that good. I mean, you can see those little 240 pixels that cover the whole screen. As long as the audio is good, that's the main purpose for me, because otherwise if I can't distinctly hear the bass or the guitar, it's like, why am I even listening? It just sounds like mush. Any concert that has a good mix automatically gets a huge boost in my mind, and I think the Mayan performance of Assassin is one of my favorites. I think that's their best performance of that song. They added the outro, which was just beautiful. Can never go wrong with a lot of the Glastonbury stuff. I like the small print at Earl's Court. I like Stockholm at Glastonbury. I like Supermassive Black Hole at Wembley, and also Blackout at Wembley. Pretty much all the classics you would think of. There actually is another one that I can't remember. It was like a performance of Uprising in 2010. It was one of the ones where he used the double guitars, and that one, the crowd just lost it. And the last two are probably the Plug-in Baby and Nights at Rome, because of the crowd and the spectacle of having like 100,000 people all jump together. It was just, that's a great visual. When did you discover Muse? What's your favorite song and favorite album by them? Hugs from Spain. So I actually discovered Muse a long time ago. My sister and dad both listened to Supermassive Black Hole back in the day. I think partially because it was on the Twilight soundtrack, and then they also listened to Uprising once in a while. And my brother loved Madness. So I had early exposure to some of their pop stuff, but I didn't really look deep into their discography until Psycho came out. And I think I saw an ad for it on Facebook. I'm dying here, guys. Help me. I think I saw an ad for Psycho on Facebook, and the way that it was so distinctly different from everything else I had heard from them up to that point made me immediately want to hear what else they had to offer. So I looked and checked what was on the Drones album. This was like the day after it came out or something. And when I heard Reapers and the Handler, I was instantly sold on their music. So, and then I went back, and I really the first time I really looked deep into their discography, the first one I clicked on was Newborn. And that was like the perfect song for me to click on to immediately want to listen to all their stuff. So 2015 is when I really got into them. My favorite song and favorite album, favorite song is, well, actually I talk about all this in a video that I will link up there. I always get the sides wrong. I think it's this side. I will link in a card up there, and you can watch my video on ranking the Muse albums where I talk about all that. My favorite song is The Handler, though. I'll give you that. Do you enjoy Prague? And if so, name the bands that you listen to. And I just haven't explored too much into music because a lot of prog can be, it can have a high barrier of entry. Let's say that, you know, having a 18-minute long song, Epic by Dream Theater, is not exactly the most easy thing to get into. So I have heard a decent amount and I haven't disliked any. I just haven't really gotten into it. Toilet paper, over or under? Over, or you're an idiot. No, I'm just kidding. I literally do not care at all on this. If I had to pick, I'd probably say over, but like, I don't really care, like, at all. As long as you get the job done, you know? What Hogwarts house are you in? I've actually taken a few different quizzes for Pottermore for this over the years, and I think every time I've gotten Gryffindor, so that would be my answer. And I'm gonna insert some footage of my room over while I'm talking right now. I didn't have strong convictions on how I wanted my room to be designed. I need to get a cough drop. I'll be right back. I'm gonna talk with a cough drop in my mouth. Get over it. So I didn't have extremely strong convictions on what I wanted my room to be designed as because I'm not like an interior designer and I don't really care. So my mom decided to pick something that I was obviously interested in and asked me if I was okay with it being like this. And of course I was. So she went with a Harry Potter theme. By the way, my Muse concert vlog is actually up on my Patreon right now. So if you're a patron that donates more than $5 a month, you could see that right now. It'll be up later. This one's gonna go up first because I'm hitting 10K so soon. Any chance of making a video like if Muse wrote insert song by Dion here? I'm assuming you're not saying Celine Dion because otherwise you would have said Celine Dion. I've never heard of Dion. I will do any video that people vote on if I'm remotely interested in it. A big thing for me is balancing what I want to do and what you guys want to see, and that's why a lot of times I end up uploading videos that I know aren't going to do that well. Like anything to do with Paramore typically doesn't do as well on the channel. But I really like Paramore, they're my second favorite band, so I'm still going to always fall back on content that I enjoy doing. Whether people are going to end up watching it or not is really a secondary factor for me for some of those videos. But if you guys are interested in seeing something like this, then make sure you let me know down below and I'll look into it. Also give me some, advice on how I would go about doing that. How many instruments can you play? Well, I started in middle school with clarinet. I wouldn't consider myself a good clarinet player or anything, but that was my start into music. And then my friend actually was a drummer and that got me really interested in drums. So I took some drum lessons for a little while and played in a few bands. I'll insert some footage of all of that. I don't play anything outlandish like a tuba or anything like that. How long have you listened to Muse? I already answered that. How long have you played guitar? And when did you start listening to rock music in general? Well, I actually started listening to rock music at a really young age because both my parents were in a band together and they both loved that type of music. They basically were in a rock band that played just cover songs out and stuff, but they did it quite often and they were pretty good. So pretty much been listening to rock forever, but pretty much the only band I was into at a younger age that did rock was Cutlass. They're a really small Christian band. We were allowed to listen to stuff other than Christian bands. Didn't matter, but that was just the band that I ended up getting into at a super young age, and I stuck with them for quite a while until right after high school is when I started listening to some random bands, and then I got into Muse, obviously. But they played stuff that's actually somewhat similar to Muse. Here, I'll play you a little clip of a song. Not a ton like Muse, but this song specifically reminds me of hyper music, and this is the stuff that I would listen to. My whole family loved listening to stuff like that. So pretty much, forever. My mom wanted me to say that while she was pregnant, she played bass with me, blah, 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 and I was there listening to rock. So she says I listened to it before I was even born. So that's her answer. How long have you played guitar? Guitar was the last instrument I learned out of the four I mentioned. I actually started playing it only seriously like probably 2 years ago, I would say. But I knew how to play some chords and stuff before that. So yeah, 2 years ago I started trying to learn Muse guitar lines, about a year after I got into Muse. And that's really when I would consider myself a decent guitar player. Before that, I could just strum like a random singer or songwriter type person. How you doing? No, how you doing, eh? How you doing, eh? Top 3 or just 1 Muse songs that mean the most lyrically to you. So lyrics don't generally play a huge part in my enjoyment of a song, but in specific circumstances, they can end up meaning a lot. The super uplifting nature of Exogenesis Part 3, musically and lyrically, is probably the best one for me. That one, and I think Blackout as well. Hoodoo's another great one, obviously. Tea or coffee? Neither. If I had to pick, if you put a gun to my head and said pick one or the other, I'd say coffee. Because I like things that are coffee flavored, like coffee ice cream. But coffee itself is a little bit like, I love the smell of coffee. I pretty much only have water because I try to like keep my teeth clean. What's the first guitar riff that you played or practiced on? I guess it would be Sweet Home Alabama, back in like 7th grade when I took like a silly guitar class in middle school. But I wasn't really seriously into guitar at that point. I was just doing it like for whatever reason. The first one that I seriously played would have been, it was a Muse song, I know. It was Plugin Baby and Newborn. Those were the first 2 I really tried to learn. I think Newborn was the first one. So I would say Newborn. Do you think Uprising should be the most watched Muse song on YouTube? I don't think it's a reasonable expectation to want songs like Fury to be the most viewed songs by Muse on YouTube. I think that would just be ridiculous in every sense of the word. The most viewed songs are always going to be the songs with the most pop tendencies from a band, almost always. Not every time, but most of the time. I think Uprising is the embodiment of what Muse would be if they were a pop band, and I think it does a great job at mixing the genres together, mixing this eclectic, strange, spacey rock influence with the pop repetition and catchiness. It's anthemic. It has a great guitar solo, one of their best in my opinion. It has their signature like riff basically for the guitar solo, and then with an added higher part. I wish the outro was the heavy outro that they do live, but that would have held it back from being as popular. So yes, I think out of all the pop songs that could potentially be the most popular, I think Uprising deserves it the most. Also, part of what makes a song special to you, like the underground Muse songs, is the fact that it's like held in this exclusive club of people that really love the band. Like, if everyone loved every song that you loved, I don't know, maybe there's something a little less special about it. Do you listen to any old bands? I've mostly seen Muse and Royal Blood, etc. on your channel, but I'm wondering if you listen to Led Zeppelin, Black Sabbath, King Crimson, and those kind of guys, or else styles like jazz and classical. Out of all the things listed there, I listen to classical the most. I actually listen to classical quite a bit. I don't listen to jazz too much, though I appreciate it a lot. As for classic rock, it's not, for some reason, it doesn't click with me that much. Some Led Zeppelin songs, for example, I absolutely love. In general, I would say no, though. Can you do a Linkin Park theme video? Yes, I can. It's actually, right now, there's a poll on Patreon for the next How to Write a Song video, and Linkin Park's in first place at the moment. Do you like Rage Against the Machine? If so, what's your favorite track? I don't really love them. I mean, I haven't looked too deep into their discography. I love the stuff that I have heard, though. Obviously, Killing in the Name is a classic. I've played that live a couple times with different bands and stuff, but I'd probably say Freedom is my favorite. Yeah, that outro is just great, and it inspires a ton of what Muse does, so, you know, hats off to them for that. Could you do a How to Write a Queens of the Stone Age song, any era? Yes, that's also in the voting for the next couple weeks. So if your band doesn't win next week, it has a chance next week after that, and the week after that, or the couple weeks after that, because right now I've been focusing on my album stuff. I haven't been working as much on those videos, but they will still be on the way. How and when did you discover Muse? Well, I discussed that. And why do you like the Handler so much? I think it's because of the experience I had with it live. Prior to seeing it live, it actually was not my favorite song, but the visuals that they had during the performance for the Drones tour were just immaculate. You just need to pull up some video of it and you'll see why it was such a favorite of mine. Is there any musician you would consider your inspiration And then below that, besides Matt Bellamy. Yeah, I would say, hear me out here, I would say Ed Sheeran. So you heard that in my earlier years, I was really into rock music, almost exclusively, and I pretty much didn't listen to pop. Then there was a section in between the Muse time and the older music where I listened to almost exclusively pop music. Sorry, my camera got full there. So in that time between eras of liking rock and rock, I liked pop music. And in that section of time, I had gotten extremely sick of dealing with bands that would fizzle out because of lack of interest or lack of, dedication. So I basically gave up on doing music seriously. And it was around that time where I went to see Ed Sheeran live, and I saw him do an entire set completely on his own with a guitar and a loop pedal. And once I saw that, I was like, all right, I'm doing music again. Because I was like, if he can do it completely on his own, why can't I try? And that was about in 2014 or so on his Multiply tour. And, ever since then, the rest is pretty much history. I got back into rock music and I started writing stuff on my own. Pretty much any artist that does like a ton of the work on their own, I look up to a lot. All right, I just had to slam down some Dayquil to keep this going, guys. I'm dying here. When did you start playing guitar? Tell us about the early days of music for you. Well, like I said, my dad and mom were both in a band. My dad played the guitar and my mom played the bass. And my dad really, really wanted me to get into guitar. Instead, I chose the bass. I basically played bass in different bands, bass and drums. Basically any instrument other than guitar for years. Until just a few years ago when I started picking up guitar because I needed to write my own music. So I got interested in it because to write music a lot of times, guitar is one of the best instruments to do that. It's interesting though because those early bands that I played in, where I played bass or drums, were largely focused around older pop music, like, Stevie Wonder type stuff, where bass was basically the main instrument. Guitar took a back seat to the bass actually in that band. Will you be considering doing mashups? I don't really know what that means. If you could clarify below, that would be fantastic. Because if you mean what I have been doing, which is like combining different styles, I think that, I've already been doing that. But if you're not meaning that, then I don't know. What songs are you into at the moment? Well, that's a great question. Let me look at my Spotify. My music taste generally goes all over the place. I'd say Duality by Slipknot is one of my favorites right now. Been really getting into My Chemical Romance again, so House of Wolves. And Stay by Post Malone is probably Stay by Post Malone, Tu Falta de Querer by Mon Laferte, and No Tears Left to Cry by Ariana Grande. Out of all those, I'd probably say Stay by Post Malone is the weirdest because it's like a ballad with very strange chords that you would expect from a rock band or an alternative band like Muse or something. And it's not trap influence at all. It's just an acoustic song with him singing and performing a really great song. Like, trust me, if you guys check it out, you'll be surprised. If you don't like his stuff, it doesn't matter. You'll be interested by the song whether you like it or not. Are you Mexican or Latino? Have you seen my skin complexion, sir? I'm white, if you couldn't tell. Which is your top 5 bands of all time? Origin of Symmetry or Absolution? Again, I'll point you to my, ranking the Muse albums video. I don't really buy music that often, so if I do buy music, it's a band that I'm absolutely obsessed with. I would say my number 1 is Muse, obviously. Number 2 is Paramore. Number 3 is probably My Chemical Romance or Panic at the Disco. And then Royal Blood. If you asked me this like 3 years ago, not a single band there would have been in that list. What are your interests besides music? Well, I love politics. I love movies and TV shows. I like, critiquing them. I think direction in movies is very interesting. And I love video games. Those are, I'd say my top 2 are politics video games. My favorite video games are Halo, League of Legends, Overwatch. I've played them a lot, trust me. Did you finish any music school or do you learn all by yourself? So the only training I've ever gotten for any of the instruments I play is for the drums. And that was when I was first getting into music, and I took them for, I don't know, like 6 months or something, maybe more than that. And that was like when I was 10 or something, like really young. Maybe it wasn't when I was 10, but it was when I was a lot younger. At this point, I've taught myself how to play bass, guitar, keyboard, and how to sing for the most part too. So Pretty much all by myself, never taken any music school. Yes or no? Let's put it this way. If you said yes to everything, you'd end up in some bad places, man. If you say no to everything, you're excluding yourself from some cool opportunities, but at least you're not going to end up in some dark alleys with... Okay, let's not expand on that story. Let's just end it there. When are you making another video with that awesome blonde girl? Well, we're going to a festival this weekend, actually, an EDM festival. I know a lot of you guys are probably not as much into EDM, and I'm not generally either, but my favorite EDM artist is Zed, and he's going to be there. I like all of his album, True Colors, is like one of my favorite albums of all time, so she'll be in that. We're going together. So that awesome blonde girl will be there. Whoa, we got a four-parter here. Are you a cat person or a dog person? Please say dog. Have you seen my videos with my cat? Obviously a cat person. Who's your favorite female artist? Well, if you're talking about like a solo female artist, it would be Melanie Martinez, because I think she does some really great combinations of like what Panic at the Disco or Muse would do with, you know, hip hop and pop elements. And I don't typically like hip hop, so I think her production is unique. I like how it's creepy and childlike and has a lot of orchestration in it. If you're talking about like a band that has a female lead, it would obviously be Paramore because, you know, they're my second favorite band. What do you think of Australia? Okay, I don't want to have a strong opinion on anything that I don't know enough about. So if you guys ask me like, what do you think of so-and-so? And I've like, have no experience with so-and-so, I'm just gonna be like, I don't know. Because if I say, I absolutely love it, and then it turns out it's like, I'm not really loving it, it's like, you know, I lied to you. So honestly, what do I think of Australia? I don't really think of Australia. Seems like it has cool sights, potentially. It has interesting wildlife. Sydney looks like a beautiful city. I like the idea that you're an island. I mean, technically every landmass is an island because you'll be surrounded by water somewhere. But I like the idea that the coast is not all that far from wherever you are on the island, because a lot of the cities I heard aren't towards the center. So that sounds pretty cool. I don't really like the idea of having so many exotic animals because they kind of creep me out at some point, like tarantulas and stuff. I'm like deathly afraid of spiders. What is your star sign? I assume you mean like astrology. Well, I'm like the crab one, like the Cancer. Yeah, it's impressive. I get to be Cancer, and you are a legend. No, you're a legend, Amy. Which musician's death upset you the most? Almost all the ones that have passed away recently are ones that I really had no connection to, like people like Chris Cornell. The closest one I've been to is Chester, obviously, because, you know, that's the type of music that I listen to. But I wasn't super into Linkin Park at any point in my life until around the time he passed away. I was just like starting to get into it. So that was really unfortunate. I would say Chester, but thankfully, I mean, that's kind of selfish, but thankfully I haven't really been that personally connected to all of them. It's just tragic how young it's been happening to a lot of these people too, though. Like, you know, if you live to 80 years and you pass away in your sleep, it's a different issue than if you're 40 and you have a family and you know, you die. Very sad. Do you have a favorite Radiohead album? And if so, which and why? I don't know enough about Radiohead to make that judgment. I don't listen to them profusely. I would say OK Computer from what I've heard. Do you like execution commentary? What do you think about the hidden reverse lyrics in Stockholm Syndrome? Well, the same thing happened in Goner, I think, by 21 Pilots, where like if you reverse the lyrics, it had like some secret message. I don't think that the band would have ever intentionally done that. I think it is just an amazing coincidence that adds to the song, and it's possible. I just don't think bands intentionally do that stuff. And do you like execution commentary? I love the riff. Do I like the song? No. When they add it to the end of Stockholm Syndrome, it's a great addition. So the riff is great. Song is, I mean, Matt doesn't even like it. What are your opinions on Map of Your Head? I like Map of Your Head. Coma, Host, and Prague. Also, what are your 3 least favorite Muse songs? I would say my 3 least favorite are Sober, Defector, and Big Freeze, perhaps. I mean, you know, I could include stuff like execution commentary on there, but I'm not, because if you do, like, you could just include a bunch of their, like, random demo stuff, and it's like, you know. I will say I've only listened to a lot of these once, but on first listen I didn't really enjoy those other 3. Of those 3, I would say Prague was probably my least favorite. I'm pretty neutral on them for the most part. Tips to learn piano keyboard on my own. I already play guitar, bass, and know basic chords on keyboard. Which keyboard or synthesizer do you recommend me to buy? I'm not the best person to ask for that. I'm not a keyboard expert. Tips to learn piano and keyboard on my own. Like pick something that you know is challenging but not too hard where you get upset, and then just keep doing it over and over again until you get it right. Just try to make sure you're using correct technique, because that can hold you back in the long term. I never got taught per se how to play keyboard, but a lot of times I was learning stuff. I had people that were like, oh, that's not really the right way to do that. And then I'd be like, oh, okay. And then I'd try to teach myself a better way. So yeah, just start with simple stuff and slowly build yourself up. Try to challenge yourself in appropriate amounts so that you're not getting upset, but you're also improving. Do you have any plans of joining or starting a band with others? Not really. I've been in so many bands growing up and they all have fallen apart. I'm fine sticking on my own right now. If I get to a point where my music is successful and I can maybe like go through a label or something and I can instantly get musicians that I know are going to be hardworking, are going to be committed to the goal, are willing to work with me on writing parts and all that stuff, then yeah, I would totally do that. I'd tour with people like that. But just picking up random people off the street, it's so difficult to get it to work. Like there's conflicts of interest, there's people with different schedules. It's such a nightmare to get it to work. Your favorite Discord admin? Just kidding. If you guys haven't heard, we do have a Discord server, and Asymmetric has done a great job structuring the whole thing, so make sure to thank them for that and join it if you have any time and you'd like to chat with us. What do you think your ultimate goal is to do during the summertime? Do you have any plans, or do you just aim to chill out? I'm actually going to see like a ton of concerts. I've never been much of a concert goer in my life, but over this summer specifically, I'm going to see, I just saw Muse, and you guys will see the vlog from that. I'm going to the EDM festival. I'm going to see Paramore, and I'm going to see Royal Blood. So I have a lot of shows that I'm going to see, but the album release is a big thing for this summer as well. And I'm finishing up school, actually. I'm going to be taking my final 2 classes for college, and then I'll have my English degree. What is your favorite color? Actually rotates between blue and red, so both of those. Which instrument do you prefer to play, and why is it, without a doubt, a bass guitar? Well, you're actually pretty much right. I mean, I would always pick bass guitar, other than the fact that guitar is just so much easier to write songs on. If it were just like pure fun to play it, I don't know, bass is pretty darn fun. I'd say they both have their merits. I couldn't really pick one at this point. If I was going to be realistic, practical, I would say guitar. Physical versus digital music, which one do you prefer and why? Ideally, I prefer physical because it supports the artist more directly rather than streaming stuff. But right now I don't really have the money to just, constantly buy all the records that I love. So I really can only limit myself to buying the ones that I really, really, really like. And even then, I don't usually buy them in physical format because you have to pay for shipping and stuff like that. But ideally, if I had $1 million, yes, I would buy almost all digital music because it's also like this cool, like I would use it almost as a display, like I have album artworks here and stuff like that. It's nice to be able to share, like to express the music you like on the walls of your room and stuff like that. What and who motivated you to first start playing music? At what age did you start? I'd say Ed Sheeran was one of the biggest influences in having me write my own music, because he showed me that you were able to do such a thing on your own and perform it on a stage on your own as well. Hey kitty. I really didn't start doing all that until I was around 17. Hey buddy. When I was 17, that's when I saw the Ed Sheeran show, and that's when I really started seriously trying to do my own music. Before then, I think it was maybe like 14 or so when I started doing bands with other people. None of those ended up working out in the long term, but they were fun for a time, for sure. So my parents being into music, as well as all my friends, was probably a big driver in that. If none of them were into it, I probably wouldn't have started doing stuff on my own as well. So, do you enjoy some bands from the 90s like Oasis and Nirvana? Yeah, I enjoy some bands from almost every era. I'd say, out of the 90s rock bands, that Nirvana's one of my favorites, along with Third Eye Blind and stuff. But I don't typically listen to older rock too much because I feel like what we have nowadays is something that's built upon what the past has constructed, and you can incorporate elements of all that music has learned over the years in a more intriguing way. That's my personal opinion on it. Some of the older stuff is great though. Why do you make your covers better than the originals? Thank you. I don't think I do, but I think sometimes maybe I do, but I don't think I do for the most part. It's probably just because your personal preference, leads you to like stuff that's, a little less mainstream, a little more rock, a little heavier, And when I spice things up like that for you, it probably just tickles you, just scratches a little itch, you know? Just like I'm scratching Kitty. Hello, Nightwalk. Massive fan of your videos. My question is, what is your honest opinion of Drones? How does it rank against the other Muse albums? Is it classic Muse? What songs do you like, dislike? I know I've asked multiple questions, but I'm curious as the album is so controversial amongst the Musers I have met. Enjoy your concert. Well, thanks very much, Nowhere Daisy. Well, as I've mentioned before, I have a Ranking the Muse Albums video up. All right, I gotta do these last bunch in rapid fire mode because I've already been recording for like 40 minutes. I would put Drones at like number 4. My favorite songs on it would be Dead Inside, Reapers, Handler, Aftermath. Really like the whole album except for Defector and the final track, Drones, and Revolt. Defector is not bad. Revolt is questionable, and Drones is kind of average when it could have been slightly better. But the highs on the album, I think, are among the highest highs in all of Muse's music, so. Will you be interacting with everybody in the voice chats on Discord? It would be awesome to talk to you. Sure, yeah. I don't personally, like, I'm super introverted and I don't talk with people a lot usually, but I will talk with you guys on the Discord once in a while. If that's something you want to do, just let me know in the chat and like be, hey, could you hop into the mic section? I want to talk for a little while, and I'd be like, sure. And then we could get a little talk going there. Any plans for collabs? I'd love to collab with a lot of different people. I'd love to collab with Brad Taste, or with ARTV, or pretty much, you know, anyone in the music scene on YouTube. I still have a ways to go before I do that. My philosophy up to this point had been no collabs because I want to kind of just build on my own and improve myself as a creator. But at some point, collabing is just a great way to, you know, create ties in this industry, create some friends, and expand your audience. Have you ever seen Muse live before? If yes, what was your favorite part of the show? Well, I've seen them twice, well now 3 times after that other show. I saw them on the Drones tour and I saw them in Charlotte. And I'd say my favorite part out of all those shows was probably seeing the Handler live, which is what probably made it my favorite show. And the other favorite part would definitely be the closing with Knights of Sidonia and the huge build up and release, because just seeing the crowd react to that and the visuals that go along with both of them were just, it was pretty awesome. Any bands you can recommend except for Muse, of course? I say this all the time, but like, people ask like, oh, what Muse song should I listen to first? It's like, it completely depends what you're interested in. So if you let me know what types of music you like down below, then I can try to tailor my recommendations a little more to what you might enjoy. Green Day versus Blink-182, which one will you choose and why? I would choose Green Day. I do enjoy a lot of Blink-182. I think Green Day seems to be a little bit more ambitious with projects like American Idiot from what I've seen, but I'm not really a professional on either one, so I'd have to listen to more before I gave a definitive answer, but as of now, I'd say Green Day would be my choice. What's your favorite Nothing But Thieves song? I really only listened to the second album. Off that one, my favorite one, I can't remember the name. Yeah, it would be Afterlife. That'd be my favorite one. How long does it take on average to record a video? Well, this one is already running on like 50-something minutes at this point. Typically, the recording of the actual video section of a Nightwalk video is really short. It takes like, 30 minutes at the most. Really what the hard part is the preparation, writing the song, producing the song for those kinds of videos, the ones where like how to write a song video. Like that's the hard part. The video part's like a lot easier. It's just kind of like showing clips of me along the process, but the process is actually making a song. That takes a lot longer. If you want to include all that, I'd probably say the average How to Write a Blank Song video would take about 8 hours, maybe more. It completely depends on the song, on the video, all that stuff. For the types of videos like If Havana Muse song, those take like 2 hours at the most. So those are the easiest ones to make by far, because all the lyrics are already written for the song. I just have to rearrange things. What are the perks and difficulties of making music the way you do, and would you rather be in a traditional band or continue independent? If you could be signed by a label, which one would it be and why? This is probably a stupid question, but still, what is your name? You look like a Michael or an Ian maybe. My name's Dakota, which is a little bit of a strange name, but I definitely like it. Well, the perks are definitely like I have complete creative control, which is like really awesome. And if I have ideas at like, 3 in the morning, I can just work on them and like they can be mine, and that's it. Like there's no conflicting opinions. I can get stuck in ruts where all my stuff can hit a roadblock, where other people could maybe have an idea that could bring me out of that hole. I would probably like to stay doing stuff on my own for the most part. I'd like to have some people to help me along the process, like some producers, because they obviously know what they're doing. Maybe even have some singers to sing for me on some songs. But as for the writing part, I really enjoy writing on my own because, you know, I like chilling on my own. It's like I'm a loner, man. If I could be signed by a label, I don't really know that much about labels. I like the Fueled by Ramen label bands, but I've heard they manage them pretty poorly, so I can't really say on that one. What gave you the idea of the name Nightwalk? And also, what is your real name? Hey, this came right after the other person. So my name's Dakota. And the idea of Nightwalk was I wanted something that kind of sounded cool. That was the first thing, because I don't want something that sounds like, you know, Daisy Lily. Like something that just sounds like silly and dumb. Nightwalk I thought sounded cool, but it also kind of went with the idea of like, I like taking walks at night. I like being a loner. I like thinking. And all of those things can happen on walks at night, and Nightwalk is just like a combination of those things. Sounds cool, is a little bit dark like the music, implies being alone, implies introspection and thought. What's the first song you heard by Muse? I believe it was Supermassive Black Hole, because my sister and father listened to it. When did you first start composing music? I started when I was 9, which is awfully young. I'm interested in when you as well as other people began. So I started around, I answered this earlier, but I started around 17. That's when I really started writing music, like seriously writing it. Now on to the Twitter questions. There's only a few here. Have you ever been in a band? Yes, as we've mentioned earlier. Favorite artists apart from Muse, which we've answered as well. How did you discover Muse, which you've answered as well. When did you start playing guitar, which we answered as well. What got you into playing music, which you answered as well. What state do you live in? Oh, that's North Carolina. So, which you could probably tell by me going to all the Charlotte shows, like seeing Carolina Rebellion and all that stuff from Muse. So yeah, I still wanted to showcase the Twitter questions because you guys took the time to write them out, even though they were repeats of some of the YouTube ones. So Bubba and I want to say thanks for 10,000 again, guys. Thanks for 1 million views. And we hope you stick around for, you know, the next milestone, which hopefully will be like 100,000. Right, Bubba? Maybe by then we'll be monetized. Probably not. Bye.